Hey boys and girls, this is Coach Mack and Mr. Mack here today to talk to you about the book, Who Was Cesar Chavez? And we're going to be reading to you the last chapter, chapter 7, starts on page 90. And Coach Mack's going to start off reading and then I'm going to take it over from there and we'll finish up the book. Hope you guys have been watching each teacher read today or this week. And anyway, Coach Mack, it's your turn.
All right, so Chapter 7, Protest and Peace. In the 1970s, Cesar moved the Union's headquarters to a quiet, remote, 187-acre California community called La Paz. Cesar had always wanted a place for Union members to live together in a peaceful setting. Here, people shared dormitories, kitchen gardens, or community gardens, kitchens, a church, and an educational center. The wide open space reminded Cesar of his childhood home on the ranch. Also around this time, the Union was renamed the United Farmers Workers of America, or UFW. But not everything about the Union was peaceful. Cesar didn't always listen to other people's ideas. If they disagreed with him, he would fire them. The Union fought growers in courts not only in California, but also in Arizona, Kansas, Idaho, Oregon, Florida, and other states where farm workers were employed. When union contracts with growers expired, many farm workers signed on with Teamsters Union instead of the UFW. Times were tough, but Dolores Herrera came up with a new slogan to keep them going. Si se puede. Yes, it can be done. Luckily, there was a new governor in California, Jerry Brown. Governor Brown was interested in the rights of farm workers. It seemed Cesar might finally have the government support he needed. National labor laws in the United States still didn't protect the rights of the farm workers to join the unions of their choice. Governor Brown was willing to do something about it. He gathered the UFW, the Teamsters, and the growers in separate rooms. He went from room to room and helped them agree on a deal. Governor Brown signed the Agricultural Labor Relations Act into law June 5, 1975. Finally, a law protected the rights of workers to choose the union they wanted. By the 1980s, Cesar had done more than just build a union for farm workers. He had shown the world that poor people who were victims of racism and unfair laws could come together, organize themselves, and make changes in their lives. Their rewards were higher wages, vacation times, medical plans, portable toilets, and access to fresh drinking water in the fields. They could finally save money and buy their own homes. Their children could finish high school instead of having to work in the fields as Cesar had done. Mexican Americans were even getting more involved in politics to help the laws that affected their lives. In a 1984 speech, Cesar said, "We have looked into the future, and the future is ours." He was referring to not only to Mexican Americans, but to Latinos, those from Spanish-speaking countries and territories such as Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic, all over the United States.
Cesar continued to work on other issues, including the use of pesticides in the fields. He fasted again starting in July 1988 to draw attention to the cause. He was more than 60 years old and he grew very weak over the 36 days of not eating. Growers continued to use pesticides, but Cesar continued to give speeches all over the United States about the problems facing farm workers and the future of the Latino community. When he wasn't traveling, he spent his time with his family, his 8 children and many grandchildren. In April 1993, Cesar was called to defend the Union at a trial. He went to St. Louis, Arizona, near where he had grown up. He was staying with some friends. After a long day of questioning at the courthouse, he went to bed. When his friends checked on him in the morning, they discovered he had died in his sleep. His body had been weak since his last fast. He was only 66 years old. A few days later, on April 29, 1993, a funeral was held in Delano. Tens of thousands of people came. A 3-mile long procession walked the streets carrying flowers and flags. Cesar's brother, Richard, built him a pine coffin. His body was buried in La Paz. Since his death, Cesar has received many honors, including the Aguila Azteca, the highest award given to foreign citizens by the Mexican government, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Clinton. Parks, schools, libraries, streets, and community centers have been named for him across America. In 2012, President Barack Obama made La Paz, the union's headquarters, a national monument. The president also declared March 31st, Cesar's birthday, as Cesar Chavez Day. He called upon all Americans to celebrate the achievements of Cesar across the United States by helping out their communities. Yes, we can. In 2008, Barack Obama, inspired by the slogan "Ceci Perdue," used a similar motto, "Yes, we can," for his presidential campaign. Cesar Chavez has become a symbol of hope for the poor and powerless. He remains an inspiration to Latinos everywhere and a strong but peaceful hero in the fight against racism in America. Cesar proved that people who come together and speak with one voice can be much stronger than a person standing alone. The end.